So what up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. This will be a short review. I know I said this about the last video about it being a quick video, but I really think I mean it this time. I'm going to try to make this as quick as possible and not too long, talking about Matrix Resurrections that just came out over the break. So I've been watching a lot of the critiques about this movie from different reviewers and stuff like that. And I agree with like a lot of the sentiments surrounding the movie, but I don't agree with their conclusions about why this movie is bad, because their sentiments is that this movie is bad, but we have different idea. I feel like I have a completely different idea than everybody else about why this movie is bad. Personally, I think this movie is bad because it was made bad on purpose. So everybody keeps harping on the fact that it's meta, and they're really excited about the fact that they seem to really like the fact that it is meta, and the fact that Lana Wachowski puts in here that, you know, sort of like the concept is they put Neo back into the Matrix after he died, and they programmed this new life around him where essentially he was the creator of this video game called The Matrix, and he created all of this story up in his mind and put it into his video game. Now, it's very clear to me that the reason why nobody talks about the reason why it is meta in the first place. It's very clear to me that is why it is meta, and the reason why I think it is meta is because Lana has some shit to get off her chest. Lana is clearly very pissed off at everyone for even having her make this film in the first place, for even needing a reboot and not just being done with the Matrix series altogether. Agent Smith sits down Neo at one point in the movie at the beginning of the film, and it's very clear to me that Lana is positioning herself into this narrative. It's even I think explicitly said at one point, because when Neo has another conversation with Trinity, it's almost like a craft talk about like creators and their artwork that they have with each other. And you know, I think Trinity asks Neo like, how much of you is in the video game? And he's like, all of it is me. And it's like, okay, Lana, I know it's you. I know it's you in there. To go back, the point where Agent Smith sits down Neo to talk to him about how shitty he must feel, or how bad he must feel, how much frustrating it must be for him his hand to be forced to make another video game. You know, that Warner Brothers, they saw the success of the first trilogy and they wanted another, and you said no. And Agent Smith goes into this whole spiel, which is clearly Lana detailing what happened in the real world of the creation of making another Matrix film, a video game, right? So he goes into the whole spiel. Yeah, you know, you didn't want to do it, and then they told you, well, we'll do it without you because we have, you know, the ultimate, we own it in the first place. We have creative control. We'll just hire new people instead of you. And then that's when you jumped on, and you decided because your hand was forced, you jumped back in because you didn't want, you know, you felt like, how dare people take your creative work and and like mess with your creations and stuff like that, on this whole spiel, talking shit about Warner Brothers, how they forced her hand into making this movie. That's the first thing that let me know, okay, Lana didn't want to make this fucking movie. 2, we have Neo in the conference room with the other creators that Warner Brothers, well, I don't know why I'm putting I know why I'm putting air quotes around it, because Warner Brothers probably literally sat Lana down in a real conference room and had her forcibly work with other creators to create this giant mess of a piece. But we see that Neo is completely just out of it. He's overwhelmed. He's frustrated. He's not listening to a word that they are saying at all. Meanwhile, they are in the background talking about, you know, everybody loves talking about reboots and regurgitation and nostalgia. They're having all these craft talks about nostalgia and the need for reboots and regurgitation, and why does everybody need this? And, you know, we just can't do it like we did it before. But, you know, we still gotta have that bullet time in there, though. It's almost like the movie is even making fun of itself. In a certain sense, like Lana is making fun of, well, not making fun of itself, but Lana is making fun of the way that people even like, I guess, you know, maybe probably what actually happened in the conference room when she was sat down with other creators to create this film, right? This other fourth film. But also the fact that, like, you know, people have harped on this fact of, have really like taken bullet time and turned it into almost a farce. Like, they took what they did and their innovation in cinematography and film, right? And then they just sort of made it into a farce because they put it in everything. And she talks about, like, there's like conversations about, of course, like I said before, nostalgia and the need for reboots and how people need to like have something repackaged to them, right? And it's so very clear to me that like Lana is also sick of the fans as well at this point, as you know, we're getting this dialogue about reboots, regurgitation, which I also am not a fan of as well. I am generally not a fan of reboots and repackaged shit and nostalgia projects. The only reason why I was interested in this one is because the first three were so good, and it was also a sequel, so it's a so I thought it was a continuation. Like the Wachowskis had something else to say to us, like they had another thing to say to us, or they had something new to say to us. So I was interested in seeing it just because of the merit of the old films, and I was like, oh, the Wachowskis are usually very thoughtful, so they probably have something new and profound to say. And she does have something profound to say, and it's pretty much leave me the fuck alone. Leave me the fuck alone. I don't know what your obsession is with reboots and nostalgia and regurgitation, having your shit repackaged to you all the time, but I don't want to be a part of it. I didn't want to do this movie. This movie is being made because of capitalist, greedy reasons. Because Warner Brothers has forced me to be here, and I don't want to be here. And it's so very clear to me after that, even after that, that Lana doesn't want to be here. Because she literally, all she does throughout the movie is take old pieces of the old film, splice them into the new film, then literally recreate those same scenes of the flashbacks within the new context of the new film. It's like... It's like nostalgia overload, and I think she's doing it on purpose in my point, because it's literally like flashback scene, then recreation of flashback scene, recreation of flashback scene. Like it'll be like the way it would be like Trinity stares back at Neo, then it'll be the cut to Trinity staring back at Neo in the coffee shop in the present day. I mean, it's just like over and over again. It's almost like she's saying, are you guys fulfilled yet? Have you gotten your nostalgia orgasm yet? Has it fulfilled you? Has it made you better? Has it made you smarter? Did it fulfill you the way you thought it would? Of course it didn't, because everybody hates this movie pretty much. Also, another thing that helped me know, because they literally... Lana literally has Neo and Trinity sit down at a table in a coffee shop. They meet a couple times, right? Meet like 2 or 3 times maybe in the coffee shop. And at one point they have that's the best part of the dialogue in this entire film. So Lana also sits down Neo and Trinity to have like this almost craft talk about the connection that creators have to their work. And I remember like I said before, she asked Neo, how much of you is in this piece? And he says, all of it is me. And clearly this is Lana talking, right? The sort of tortured artist, which kind of Neo is kind of playing in this entire film, like Neo as the tortured artist. I am a tortured soul because everybody's sort of pushing and pulling me to do these things that I really don't want to do. It's very frustrating. And they have these craft talks about like, people people disrespect and step on the work of the creator. They take the creator's work and they turn it into whatever they want, or whatever their political agenda is, or whatever they take the meaning of what it meant to you, and then they turn it into something else, and maybe even something ugly. Like, they have this very deep craft talk about pretty much how the fans, I mean, she's pretty much having a craft talk about how the fans have even ruined her film as well, even ruined the nature of what it means. And honestly, I agree with that. I agree, as much as like The Matrix is probably one of the most quoted films of all times, and one of those improperly quoted films of all time, the way that there's like a red pill and blue pill community on the internet, the way that people just so casually talk about, like, call other people blue pill, and they, like, assert themselves as red pill, even though it's clear that all of you niggas are plugged in. People have sort of bastardized the original meaning and the original sentiments around the film whatsoever. Like, it's just kind of ridiculous. So I agree that, even the fans have bastardized and, like, belittled the project with their, like, cult of behavior around the project. And I think, yeah, and I think that was one of the most the only meaningful moments of this film. But the rest of it is just like nostalgia overload, like literally, literally just Lana like overloading us with nostalgia, on top of just giving us horrible technical shoddy work in terms of like choreography, in terms of cinematography, in terms of like other dialogue, and in terms of character development. Like the movie is terrible, is made terrible on all levels. And the only meaningful thing about it is the fact that it's made terrible on purpose, because the whole point is leave me the fuck alone, leave my work the fuck alone. That is the message of this film. At the end of this movie, we essentially get Neo and Trinity flying off into the sunset. It's the most corniest shit I've ever seen. But it's it's almost like she's saying, like, you did you get your happy ending now? Are you happy now? Are you happy now? Are you satisfied now? Like, that's what she's pretty much, it feels like to me she's saying when she puts all of these sort of terrible components into this movie, one after the other. Like the nostalgia overload with the flashback scenes, then this terrible, like, corny fly off into the sunset in the Matrix scene. Oh, also how I knew she was trolling as well was when she puts in Matrix zombies. I saw some reviewers say they thought that was cool. That was a cool and new addition. And it's so clear to me that she's making fun of y'all, because of the zombie hype over the last couple of years, last maybe decade or so. Like this incessant, like, hyper fixation on zombie narratives and needing a zombie project like every fucking year or over and over again. Not that all I did. I'm not gonna lie. I like the Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead. I thought it was interesting. One of the more interesting like zombie projects of the last couple of years. But yeah, there is a fixation on zombie culture. Like, she's clearly means that she's trolling. Like, why would you take, like, to me, this is my reasoning of why she's trolling. Why would you take something cool, right? Why would you take something cool like, the way that Agent Smith would almost like a virus infect other programs and create multiple versions of himself, right? Why would you take that cool idea and then just be like, nah, zombies, and actually have a run like zombies too? Like, why would you take something cool and then do some shit like that that's corny? And then Agent Smith, my God, I don't know if I talked about this yet, but I don't remember. But like, Agent Smith, talk about not fulfilling somebody's shoes. Talk about not fulfilling somebody's shoes. I mean, this dude literally, I don't know who this guy is, but it's like frat boy Agent Smith, prep school Agent Smith. It's like Captain America Boy Scout Agent Smith. This guy is not menacing at all. I remember being physically scared as a child. Like, as a kid, seeing Agent Smith, like, he made me physically scared, like, to ever run into him in real life. In real life, this guy, I'm just looking at like, he's supposed to, none of the characters memorable, except for, of course, the characters they brought back, which was Neo and Trinity, Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss. They were the only memorable things about this film. I do think that there is one like serious component of this film. Like, I mean, of course, I still think, even in being a terrible movie, a protest film as I think it is, it still has a purpose and a meaningful purpose to be purposely bad. and it still says something. But I also feel like Lana also puts in a trans allegory as well. I remember like wondering, like, because it was the Wachowski brothers, and I didn't realize that they had transitioned. Into the Wachowski, I guess the sisters, I guess you want to say, Lana and Lily, and they transitioned back in like 2016 actually, around or they came out in 2016, or at least Lily did, and maybe Lana came out a little bit after, right? And so then after that also, I think a lot of fans started having these theories about how the Matrix might be a trans allegory. And then that's when I think Lily came out and said that it is a trans allegory in the original Matrix, trilogy movies, right? I went back and watched the trilogy movies, just because, like, after watching that horrible Matrix film, like, even though, like, I understand it, it's still not a good movie, right? Like, it's still not enjoyable to watch. Matter of fact, I was watching it with my dad, because my dad, of course, like, is a big Matrix fan. He got me into the Matrix, like, our whole family. He was big, like, on sci-fi thrillers and stuff like that. We were watching, like, Terminator all the time. We were watching iRobot. We had, like, a couple movies that he got on DVD, and we would, like, replay them all the time. And there was a lot of sci-fi thrillers like that, that told us pretty much, like, all of them telling us, be careful of technology. It's going to ruin humanity, right? I went back and rewatched the first three films. I tried to see this time when I watched it, I tried to see the trans allegory in it. But I still didn't quite. I guess I could. The only reason why I don't really see it. I see it much more in this Matrix Resurrection film, though. I see it a lot more in here. I think it's because the trans allegory lies with Neo and Trinity, sort of the concept of them being two halves of a whole. Like, Trinity being Neo's better half, like, not just in a figurative sense of, like, this is my loved one, but, like, Trinity is a part of me. She is me, if that makes any sense. And that's why I think it's also important when Trinity asks him that line, because Trinity also says in that moment when they're having that craft talk, if you remember the movie, and that's why I think that's the most, like, that's where the best dialogue happens. I'm in that coffee shop when they're talking, and she says, when she asks him, like, how much of you is in this film? And he says, all of me is in this film. And then, like I said before, I think, like, Lana is clearly putting more so herself in the position of Neo this time. She's making it more clear that she is Neo. And Trinity also says, it's funny because I thought I saw myself in that film. I thought that in the video game, my bad, in the video game, I thought I saw myself in that girl Trinity in the video game. But then I thought, that was kind of silly. How could that ever be me? I'm not like brave or nothing like that. And there's a lot of, like, themes around, like, the feminine being suppressed in this film that are much more clear to me, like the feminine side being suppressed. Like, Trinity even confides in Neo that she feels like she feels invisible in her marriage. Which of course is fake, because it's a fake marriage that the Matrix set up, right? With her and some fake kids, her husband, some fake kids. And, she's talking about, like, I feel suppressed, I feel unseen, I feel degraded in a certain sense, right? Like, I can't, essentially, like, walking around this idea that she can't truly be free. And so it's clear to me that, like, the trans allegory lies with Neo, who, I guess if we're going to put Lana, I think Lana's name before was Larry, right? So, like, Larry being Neo, wanting to be Lana, Trinity, and them trying, this movie really centers around them trying to, like, connect back with each other, like, so they can be whole. Or so that, Neo can feel whole, but also Trinity can feel seen. And, like, the trans allegory is pretty clear in here. In the way that I don't think it is as clear. Even when I went back and watched it, I just don't. I mean, with the context of this movie, I understand. I can sort of piece together, and when I squint, I can sort of see little bits and pieces. But it's much more concrete in this film. The trans allegory is, and I think that was another purposeful touch that Lana put in here. That is one of the redeeming qualities of this film. I was like, okay, that's nice. That's interesting. That's saying like these. That's one thing that I can take away from it and stuff like that. But other than that, it's still a terrible film. It's still a terrible film. I mean, I have to say honestly, I respect it. I respect making a bad film on purpose. I respect it. Even though I will never watch that movie again. But I think that's the purpose. Don't mess with my shit. Leave my shit alone is what she's trying to tell us. And I will respect her and her wishes with that. I will leave her shit alone. Y'all stop asking her. Don't ask her for another movie. Do not ask her for another film. I also think it was, I did want to mention this one thing before I go. So that I watched this one reviewer and I don't think she understood the movie at all either. She actually had a different opinion than other people. She actually said she didn't think it was bad, which is funny because she usually doesn't like a whole lot of stuff. She actually said, I don't think it's bad at all. I don't think it's any different from any other films that's out right now. And I was like, yo, she has no idea what she just said. She pretty much just, I don't think she's cognizant of the fact that she was saying that essentially, like, because she was essentially saying it like, it's not any better or any worse than any other films. And she says, like, I feel like she said that she felt like the only reason why it's being judged so harshly is because the first films were so good. And thank you. I still don't think she understood what she said when she said that. But what she just said was today's filmmaking clearly isn't on par with yesteryear. The films that are being created right now are trash. They are not held to a standard of excellence. They are allowed to get away with shoddy and crappy shit all the time. They don't have to say anything meaningful. They don't have to make you feel anything. They're just empty, fluffy nothingness. And they're not good. And that statement right there said so much to me about the state of film and Hollywood and movie making right now, is that it's garbage. So great when she said that, even though she has no idea what she said. But yeah, I just want to end on that. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below, and I'll see y'all next time for the next video. And hope you're having a happy new year as well. Be safe out there. Omicron.